Hello folks, it's August and I'll show you how to get all 8 acts of the new theater season without using any 5-star characters. This is my roster, I only use the 4 stars and the freebies. So anyway, let's begin. In August we have Hydro, Cryo, and Anemo. My boss killers will be from the free roster that you see here. My own characters are better, but I'm using the free ones. And for your alternate cast, pick your strongest units. I am restricting myself to only use 4-star characters in order to show how it can be done. And to even participate in the theater, you're gonna need at least 12 characters of these elements. So any account that have the character requirements will have some 5 stars anyway, so I'm just showing you alternative methods. Okay, the beginning is really important. You want to have 2 companions, but since I have a free cache here, I'm gonna use that to get some extra choices on my selection. Now, the reason we want to get 2 extra companions and spend all 160 flowers is to use up stamina for other characters besides your main DPS if you are going to use your trial characters to do damage. I was unlucky and didn't get a second character selection, so I even used up a reroll in order to get my second character. If you cannot get any, you can just retry and restart the challenge again, but if you have a handful of decent characters, you can ignore trying to fish for these 2 slots. Okay, now on to Act 1. My main DPS here will be Ayaka, because I need the other characters for bosses later on, and I'll show you the lineup. For Act 3, the Seahorse boss, you want to bring Ayaka and Diona, and ideally another 1 or 2 more cryo units. Go 4 cryo if you have it. The strategy is to have enough cryo to break the pearl in order to stop the boss from ever lifting off. For Act 6, I'm using my main DPS team Xiao, Faruzan, and Farina. And same with Act 8. You can substitute Farina for Xingqiu or any other off-field DPS for the last boss in Act 8. But Faruzan is very important since you need an archer. And save at least 1 stamina of Barbara for Act 7, because we're going to pick the Pyro units and she's going to carry that stage. For the first stage you have to kill 6 units and there's no time limit. There's kind of a soft enrage where once you run out of the star bonus time, you'll start getting hit by lightnings, so you eventually run out of HP from the little damage here and there. And I do not care about the star bonus since I am just trying to clear with the minimal party. And Act 2 is another easy one. There's no time limit, all you have to do is defeat the 4 characters before you die to soft enrage. So just bring the extra units that you have and don't waste your strong ones until the boss comes. There's not actually much to talk about in Act 2, so I'm just gonna skip ahead to Act 3. So we finally have our first boss in Act 3. I'll be using 3 cryo units, and Nilu is just there to take up space since you're required to have 4 characters. I'm not even gonna put her on the field. At the beginning, save your skill and burst because the boss takes reduced damage and the pearl doesn't even have the electro shield yet. Once you see the shield pop up, unload everything. You should use Ayaka's burst last because the seahorse likes to move around a bit at the beginning and you want it to be stationary when you use her burst so you get all the hits. As you can see, these 3 cryo characters is enough to break the pearl in 1 cycle, so the boss never flew away and waste time. And time is important because this fight does have a time limit. So just do your normal DPS rotation, do as much damage as you can while the pearl is recovering, and save your burst until the pearl comes back for the shield, and repeat. So the pearl is back again, the shield's there, and I'm going to use everyone's burst exactly the same as the first time, and I can easily break it. And after those 2 breaks, the boss is pretty much almost dead, so I'm just gonna do whatever I can to finish it off before time runs out. And look, I even got all the bonuses. Okay, so Act 4 seems annoying at first, it's the defend the pillar stage, but there are ways to make it much easier. You don't even need any damage dealers, so bring in all your waste characters. For this, I'm bringing in both the 5 stars that I will not be using, since they're just a waste of a slot, and then Sucrose and Diona since I don't have any other filler characters. So your strategy is to not actually kill these enemies, but to just get aggro. If you go close to them and hit them enough times, they'll stop attacking the pillar and turn towards you. And that's what you want. Once they focus you, drag them away from the pillar, but make sure to keep hitting them because if you stop hitting them, they'll change aggro back to the pillar. If they start focusing the pillar again, go and chase them and hit them until they go back on you. You're gonna have to keep this up for 3 minutes, but the good news is you don't actually have to kill any units. I'm just here stalling for time until the 3 minutes is up. You can speed it up a little faster by defeating the enemies. If you defeat the enemies, you take about 10 seconds off the clock, but new enemies will keep on spawning, so there's no real point unless you want to get that star bonus. Time for Act 5. This one might be the hardest one because you have to kill a lot of enemies within a certain time. And I say this is the hardest one because if you do not have any DPS outside of the trial characters, you're going to be really tight on time. In my case, I'm pulling Farina away from a boss fight in order to have her do damage here, since I'm lacking a main DPS otherwise. And I recommend not picking this one with all the mechanical enemies because you need to kill 22 of them, and that's a lot. The other stages have slightly stronger enemies, but you gotta kill a lot less, so it should be easier to handle. And remember, if you pick one of these and you try it again and again and keep failing, you can always rewind and pick a different stage. It took me several tries to pass this stage, and I only beat this one with a couple seconds to spare. Alright, now for a fun one, a boss on Act 6. This time I'm bringing Farina to do the hydro damage in order to break the boss's shield, and then Xiao will be my main DPS, and since I have Xiao, I'm gonna bring Faruzan in order to help out. My fourth thought is a child that will never see the light of day. Farina and the swirls is doing so much damage to the fire shield that I can break the boss before Xiao even comes in to start his rotation. And that's most of the boss's life out of the way, and you can pretty much just repeat again once it comes back. And since I do not have a healer here, my Xiao got pretty low on HP because of Farina and himself that just keeps doing damage. So for the second cycle, I wait until the shield is almost broken before I switch Xiao in order to make sure he does not die, because the boss gets stunned when the shield breaks for a little while, and this is the perfect time to do DPS. And that's the crab boss with plenty of time to spare. Okay, Act 7 is a pretty easy one, and all you really need is Barbara and another Hydro if you have it, but Barbara is mainly all you need. There will be 2 waves of enemy. The first one will be 2 Pyro Abyss Mages, and then the second one will be 2 Pyro Lectors. Barbara will vaporize her shield like crazy, so just use her auto attack and then switch over to a DPS once the shield is broken. And for this one, since I'm lacking a little bit of DPS, I am swapping in the 5-star characters just to use their skill and build energy. I'm not using their ult or any special tactic with them. I just want more energy so my Rosaria can do more ult in order to do more damage. And for the Lectors, once you defeat one, quickly move on to the other. There is another Soft Enrage in this fight. The Soft Enrage will be constantly losing HP until you eventually die. But the good news is Barbara's healing is just so OP that you can probably stay alive for another minute or two after the dot starts ticking in. So for the Lectors, I just do DPS on one of them at a time while keeping the other one on screen so I know when to dodge and avoid the fireballs. Once their HP runs low, switch to the other one because you don't want to waste time with the shield animation. With enough patience, you'll eventually down the stage. It might take a lot of time so you won't get the bonuses, but Act 7 is actually very easy considering it is the penultimate stage. Alright, Act 8 and the final boss. For this one, pull out auto stop since it's the last fight. At the beginning, do not waste your skill since the boss is pretty tanky and it's gonna fly off. So just do some normal attacks until the boss takes flight and then switch to Faruzan or any archer and do charge shots on the wings. You want to hit the yellow circle on the engine part. The hardest part is to hit one of them. Once you get both, now unload everything and do your rotation. And for Xiao, since I didn't mention it last time, his optimal combo for single targets is to use a charge attack, then jump and plunge. This is actually more damage for him than just doing jump, plunge, jump, plunge, jump, plunge. But that's only for single targets. And if you're using a free trial team, you're probably not going to have enough DPS to defeat the boss in one cycle. So once it starts flying again, repeat, switch to Faruzan or your archer, shoot the wings to bring it down, and then finish the boss off. And that's my strategy on tips on how to beat the August Imaginarium Theater without using any 5-star characters of your own. Thanks for watching, hope this was helpful, and as always, have fun out there, traveler. Oh, and remember to claim the Key of Echoes to get running animations for the characters. Even if you do not like these characters, you still want to stock up on keys just in case a character you do like gets a fancy trail.